Trustees, I will call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we do have regrets from student trustee Tyler West, who is no doubt studying for his exams. It's where he should be. Have you two finished your exams?
They don't need to write them.
Okay, all right, because we are watching closely. So, all right, so regrets from Tyler. I will have the land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. I would now ask our guest tonight, I believe you're going to lead us in O Canada, and if I could ask everyone to be able to rise, please. Thank you very much for that, and I'm sure that at Nathan Phillips Square didn't get as great as entertainment and gusto in singing that today, so thank you so much. It gives me great pleasure to be able to ask Trustee Scott Templeton to introduce our guest tonight. Trustee Templeton.
Welcome, Director Melody Guy, on behalf of this board, welcome. They're from Captain Michael Vanderboss. They're a 20-member Bell Club, and we just heard them once, so this is going to be amazing because they have great voices. They'll be performing Evening Rise, a Native American folk song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and Popcorn. Thank you.
They were actually invented by two brothers in England in 1696 and were brought to North America in 1904. And we had the privilege of having our wonderful principal. When I went to her and I said, do you think we could get some handbells? She said, why, yes, of course. And we had so much fun, and it was so popular, we actually ran out of bells. So she even got us more bells. We thank you very much. We thank Ms. Thompson for getting us to the prize so we could have such a great time. So, as I mentioned, certainly I want to also acknowledge Madame Moore, who teaches our French program and the music to our students from grades 1 through 3. And I've had the privileges of teaching students grade 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and a little bit in between. So thank you very much. Here we go.
Et bonsoir, merci beaucoup pour nous inviter. Ce soir, c'est un vrai honneur. Ici, c'est notre chorale de cloche. Les enfants sont de première année à la 5e année et ils sont tellement excités d'apprendre à jouer la cloche et apprendre à lire la musique. Et merci beaucoup. And we hope you enjoy our little concert.
much for coming out. We appreciate that. There's not many of us up here that remember popcorn, but it brought back memories of my white pants and platform shoes and long and shaggy hair. So, Ashley?
Still got the shoes.
Still got the shoes, yes, for sure. And the long shaggy hair shagged off a long time ago, so. I will, looking for an adoption of the agenda. Trustee Noble, Trustee Edwards. All those in favor? It's carried. I've got 3 sets of minutes there. April 10th, regular board April 15th, the draft minutes of the regular board of May the 21st. Are there any errors or omissions or questions with regards to the minutes? Seeing none, looking for motion to move those minutes. Trustee Templeton, Trustee Thatcher, all those in favor? That's carried. Trustees, I'd like to introduce our next and last edition for this school year of This Is My Story. We're proud to recognize June as Pride Month, and tonight we'll see the story of the impact of Camp Phoenix on our DDSB students and the difference it makes to create inclusive and safe spaces.
Camp Rainbow Phoenix is basically a camp where LGBT youth can go and allies can go and just be who they are. I went, and the last day I cried my eyes out because it was just an experience of a lifetime. I'm not the same person. From when I was 13 to now, I've changed completely, and I think that really has to do with Camp Rainbow Phoenix. You go the first day and you get on the bus and you don't know anyone. That's the first thing. You're terrified. That's what I was. And then you start to get to know people, you start to see people like you, and it's not just kids, it's mentors. A lot of the mentors are allies, and a lot of the mentors are gay, trans, LGBT. And that's what really attracted me back to the camp over and over again. It was seeing the mentors who are gay, who, for me, represented something, a hope. Because when I was 13, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't understand what I could become, what is possible. I didn't see a future for myself. And having the opportunity to hear someone else's story from the future. You know, I met one mentor who I wanted to be just like. I still want to be just like. She has like the coolest hair, and she's like has swag, and she's like this big lesbian, and I wanted to be that. And being able to see me, what I want myself to be in the future, gave me hope, gave me a want to be myself and grow and experience life. Because a lot of kids who are LGBT don't see a future for themselves because they don't understand what they are capable of and the life that they have the opportunity to have. There's always one person that really makes an impact, that really goes up to kids and talks and starts talking, or it's a certain topic that gets them going, or it's just you know, one thing that gets the kid out of their shell, and suddenly you see a whole different person. And that may not happen on the first day or the second day or the third day or the fourth day or the fifth day, but it will happen. It might not happen in the first year or the second year or the third year. It took me about 2 years to finally be completely open with myself and be able to relax and have a good time. And when that happened, my whole perspective changed. And then kids are looking back and thinking, oh man, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I just go out in the beginning? Why didn't I just talk in the beginning? And what's important is that we give as much time as possible to these kids. This year decided to get involved in camp committee, and it is a lot of work. I did not expect the work that goes into camp. The people that take their time and put it toward camp are what makes it all possible. it's gone around a lot, you know. Now a lot of kids are starting to get to know it. A lot of youth are starting to understand it. A lot of volunteers for PFLAG are starting to get to know what it's like, and that's definitely brought up our numbers of youth going. A lot more campers, and that's awesome. That's like the best thing that could ever happen. It's completely free for the campers. It has to be free for the campers, or not a lot of kids are going to get in. But the issue is starting to become that there's so many kids needing that safe space, but there's not a lot of volunteers, there's not enough funding to actually provide it. And so we always need more and more people to be willing to put in their time. One year I was not going through the easiest of times at home, especially in my own head, and the only thing that kept me going was camp. No one judges you at camp. No one wants you to be something you're not. And at school and at home, you're always going to run into that. You're always going to run into that judgment, that want to be different, to fit more into a role, and that doesn't happen at camp. You just are who you are. When I was younger, I didn't want to be around. I didn't want to, you know, sometimes I didn't want to live. And camp saved me and brought me to a place where I believed that I could be saved and believed that I could save myself. Not everyone's going to have that experience. Not everyone is going to feel the same way. Some people are just going to go and have a good time, maybe not come back, maybe just are like, okay, it's free, I'm going to go. But for that, say one kid out of the 60 that now are going lives because of camp. Realize that they could live because of camp. If one kid is alive, then isn't the whole thing worth it? My name is Ian. I'm a student at the Durham District School Board, and this is my story.
Certainly think that this is my story, has certainly been one of the highlights of our board meetings over the last year, and a very fitting presentation to be able to end our school board meetings on for this year. So thank you for everyone who participated and for the bravery of people speaking forward. So next, we're going to move into presentations, trustees, and I would ask Regina Elliott to come forward to be able to present the Healthy Schools Award for the Durham Region Health Department. Welcome.
Good evening, school board trustees, superintendents, and guests. It is with great pleasure on behalf of the Durham Region Health Department, I would like to recognize and celebrate the achievements of 85 schools, that's 65 elementary and 17 secondary schools from the Durham District School Board as 2018-19 Healthy School Award recipients. This is an increase of 41% from 50 schools last year. 90% of elementary schools worked on positive mental health, followed by healthy eating and physical activity. 70% of secondary schools also worked on positive mental health, followed by substance-free living. 18 priority neighborhood schools were also recognized. Public health nurses work with schools to create a school environment supportive of health and well-being, encouraging students, educators, and parents to adopt lifelong healthy living behaviors. Public health nurses, in turn, nominate such schools for an award. I'd like to take this opportunity as well to thank Durham District School Board for their continued collaboration in working with the Health Department in promoting the health and well-being of our school communities. And I would like to present an award to one of you.
Next, it gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce our Chairperson Scholarship Award. Chairperson Scholarship Fund was established by the Durham School Board in May 2003 and is to be awarded by the chairperson of the board to a graduating student. The prize is awarded annually to a student who is a graduating student and a student who exemplifies excellent leadership and citizenship, a student who has well represented student issues to others. The criteria for the award is based upon the applicant meeting the eligibility requirements and a recommendation by their secondary school principal. The amount of the scholarship is $1,000. A committee consisting of myself, trustees Paul Crawford, Carolyn Morton, Ashley Noble, and Scott Templeton reviewed the nominations, and the committee decided and is very pleased to award the Chairperson Scholarship for 2018-19 to Heike Tahir, a student at Maxwell Heights Secondary School. Heike has been a highly involved and contributing member of the Maxwell community since she arrived in grade 9. She has helped to cultivate a positive school climate. Heike was the grade 9 representative for the Student Council, and she's been a student ambassador throughout high school. In grade 11, she moved up to the Minister of Promotions on Council, and for 2018-19, she became the Student Council Prime Minister. She is a modest, unifying force within the school. In grade 11, Heike was an executive member of the DCA, the business club at the school. In that club, she worked collaboratively and individually to solve business problems and hone her leadership skills. She continued to participate in the club in grade 12. She is also Prime Minister of the Muslim Student Association, which creates cultural awareness programs such as fashion shows. The association also hosted an iftar dinner and invited the teachers to celebrate with them. This year, Heike delivered a powerful speech in a school-wide diversity assembly on Islamophobia. Outside of the school, Heike has recorded over 341 volunteer hours, and her life continues to be centered around volunteering and leadership. She has taught children in grades 3 and 4 age at her mosque through the Muslim Children of North America organization. As well, she has volunteered at Norman G. Powers Public School. In her limited spare time, she enjoys gaming and digital arts activities. Next year, Heike will be studying mechatronic engineering at Ontario Tech. She is already involved with Islamic Relief Organization at the university. Heike has been an extremely dedicated leader at Maxwell Heights Secondary School, promoting unity and diversity within the school and the community at large. Heike Tahir exemplifies leadership and citizenship, making her a very worthy recipient of this year's Chairperson Scholarship. I would ask Heike to join us at the front, and I could ask the trustees that were involved in the selection to also join me, please. I see your families here with you as well. I'm only not saying. join us up and we'll get a photo of the whole family to come to meet with your daughter. It's a very prestigious award. We'll get your picture. Also, trustees, it gives me great pleasure to be able to ask Superintendent Andrew McCauley to be able to introduce the Learning Disabilities Association Ability Scholarship Award.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Tonight, we inform the Board of Trustees and celebrate the 2019 Ability Scholarship recipient. The report can be found on page 28 of tonight's agenda. Established in 2018, the Learning Disabilities Association of Durham Region and the Durham District School Board partnered to provide an annual $1,000 Ability Scholarship Award. This scholarship recognizes a DDSB high school student who has a diagnosis of a learning disability and who will be continuing studies either through apprenticeship, college, or university program in the upcoming academic year. Joining us this evening from the Learning Disabilities Association of Durham Region, please welcome Carrie Burke. A committee formed of SEAC members, including Trustee Edwards and Trustee Thatcher, formed the selection committee along with the Learning Disabilities Association of Durham Region reps. This year, Mallory McDonald, student at GL Roberts, is our 2019 recipient. Mallory's submission highlighted her journey as a learner, including the challenges and successes related to having a learning disability, and in September, Mallory will be continuing her studies in the Early Childhood Education program at Durham College. Joining Mallory this evening is her father, Dave, also highlighting the importance between community, school, and family in establishing and supporting our youth. Welcome, Dave. So please join us in congratulating our 2019 Ability Scholarship Award winner, Mallory McDonald.
While Mallory makes her way forward, I certainly recognize that your dad's here with you, Dave, so appreciate you being able to come out. I'd ask that Trustees Edwards and Trustee Thatcher join me as representatives from SEAC to be able to give this award to Mallory. So if you could join me in the front. Next, trustees, we have our recognition of our student trustees. I know I was teasing them before the meeting started that there is a tradition that the student trustees are supposed to sing or perform at the last board meeting they attend. However, I know that two of you, and unfortunately Tyler's not here, two of you are returning next year, which in itself is a first. So we just won't say anything nice about you today, Sally. No, seriously. I would say that on behalf of all trustees, that we continue to be able to be astounded by the gifts that you have brought to this board table. I know we've talked about it at Student Recognition Night, that often we talk about leaders, students as the leaders of tomorrow, but the quite reality, what you have shown us is that you're leading today. I would say there isn't a trustee sitting at this table that hasn't been a better person because we've shared a pathway for you, that haven't been able to recognize much more fully the voice of students, and that your continued exhibition of leadership skills, whether at the Student Senate, in your own personal lives, in your academic careers, within your family, within your community, and indeed at this board table, has certainly given us a great, better understanding of the student voice. You have certainly played that role very well, and some of you will continue it next year, not only at this board table, but on a provincial level. So I know, Salary, we're not really saying goodbye to you, it's just have a great summer. But for Roseanne, for you, it's kind of best of luck to you. As a recipient of the Toronto Dominion Scholarship, that is certainly a recognition of the very hard work that you have put into both your community involvement plus your own schoolwork. It was certainly fine recognition of the efforts. Your parents should be very, very proud of you. We are very, very proud of you. Oh, so I take that as you are proud, yes. And we are very proud that you shared her with us, Sally, as you as well, because certainly every year you think you can't do any better, and every year our student trustees continue to astound us. So to you, thank you so much. Good kids just don't happen, and so we'd like to be able to recognize you tonight. We've got some awards for you. So I would ask that just you meet me in the middle. We'll get some photos. And if Vice Chair Carolyn Morton can join me, we'll recognize you more fulsome in the middle there. You too, Sally. As a special treat, we have our traditional student trustee videos. This is the third year running, so we look forward to watching your message.
I became a student trustee because
I am passionate about advocacy and student voice.
To impact students at a board level.
I wanted to stand up for the voices of students.
We ran our board's first well-being conference, and we made board scholarships more equitable for students.
We supported Heritage Month within our respective schools,
Improving student senate so we could hear your voices and have a broader impact.
tips for student leaders,
Get involved, be dedicated, and stand up for what you believe.
Know your people and stay true to who you are.
remember that advocacy is as much about listening as it is about speaking.
Why do I love the DDSB?
We're progressive, we're innovative, and this is my home.
Because students are cared for and supported.
Because they provide a caring atmosphere for students to thrive. We advocate for the needs of students at the board table.
Here with decision makers, we share your voice to make sure students are heard.
Your schools, your ideas, your voice.
Get involved.
Talk to student government.
Let your voice be heard.
We are your student trustees. We are DDSB.
For a minute there, I thought I was going to get my dream and watch the three of you break into song. That was excellent, well done, strong messages, and certainly an inspiration to every student and every student leader. So excellent, well done. So perfect, and a fitting tribute to the finish of a school year as well. Next, I'll turn to Trustee Morton with a report from the Committee of the Whole on camera.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And through you, Chair.
Yeah, you're, don't touch it, you're good.
I'm good. The board approved the actions of the Committee of the Whole in camera. We discussed personnel issues, property matters, employee relations issues. Chair Barrett, this is my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Morton. Next, we'll turn to the Director, Lisa Miller, with the Director's News for the System.
Good evening, trustees. I'm happy to bring you good news from across the system. Recently, 2 of our DDSB schools celebrated great milestones, and I had the opportunity to celebrate with them. Sinclair Secondary School recognized their 25th anniversary on May 25th, and I also attended Waverly Public School's 50th anniversary barbecue on June 4th. It was wonderful to walk down memory lane with former and current students and staff at these great schools. Everyone had a great time. We are honored to congratulate 2 of our student trustees on their recent accolades. Roseanne Wright was recently honored with the TD Scholarship for Community Leadership. The $70,000 scholarship, along with an offer of paid employment for 4 summers, is offered to students who help support change, nurture progress, and contribute to making the world a better place. Sally Meseret has been elected as the 2019-2020 president of OSTA-AGO, the Ontario Student Trustees Association. In her role, Sally will represent and be a strong, effective, and positive voice for over 2 million students across the province. Congratulations, Roseanne and Sally, on your wonderful accomplishments. Scholarship recipients Emma Lord and Karsten Trotter, grade 12 students from Brooklyn High School, set the bar high, exemplifying student voice and leadership. Lord is the recipient of a $30,000 Western University National Scholarship Faculty of Science Award. Trotter is the Queen's University Chancellor's Award winner who will be receiving $36,000 towards his education. In addition, Karsten is also Brooklyn High School's valedictorian. Both students received their awards for outstanding academic performance and all-around excellence in extracurricular activities and community involvement. Congratulations, Emma and Karsten. On May 23rd, over 350 Black male students from grades 8 to 10 had the opportunity to network and learn about technology, design, and digital literacy while also engaging in positive transitions at the 3rd annual CIFER, Black Male Empowerment Conference. CIFER was once again held at Durham College, and this year's agenda featured keynote speaker Randall Aji, and several workshops for many students and staff in attendance. On June 3rd, 25 schools and 500 students participated in We Walk for Water at the Ajax waterfront. The event helped raise awareness of water scarcity locally, globally, and included powerful speeches and calls to action for everyone to do more to help. Students also raised funds for Me to We to support water initiatives in Kenya. DDSB secondary students from grades 9 to 12 were invited to submit a 3 to 5 minute short film to the Gideon Legendary Replay Film Festival and Challenge. This was the second time Jill Roberts CVI organized the challenge, and this year participation more than doubled with 12 films screening at the red carpet reception on May 30th. Congratulations to all the participants and winners. On May 21st, the grade 7 students from West Creek Public School released 96 salmon fry, which are baby salmon, into Duffins Creek at the Greenwood Conservation Area. The initiative is part of the Bring Back the Salmon program. Students participated in a hands-on classroom hatchery program as they were given salmon eggs to monitor for 5 months before releasing them into the creek. A great job, everyone. In recognition of Jewish Heritage Month, Edith Gelbard shared her incredible survival story with grades 7 and 8 students at Stephen G. Saywell Public School. After fleeing her home in Austria and then again in Belgium, Edith went into hiding from the Nazis and was forced to live under a different name and religion in a home for fugitive children in France. Edith's story is told in the popular book Hiding Edith by Kathy Kaser. After her moving presentation, Edith answered students' questions about her life and signed books. On June 6, students in grades 4 to 10 who self-identify as First Nations, Métis, or Inuit took part in our Indigenous Student Celebration Day. The event was filled with fun, engaging cultural experiences and workshops ranging from fiddling and hoop dancing to treaty exploration. The day focused on education, awareness, and fostered connection and pride amongst attendees. On June 15th, Durham Carafest was held once again. DDSB is a proud sponsor of the event, which celebrates the culture of the Caribbean diaspora in the Durham region with food, community, organizations, music, and dancing. This year, students from Viola Desmond Public School and Bolton C. Felby Public School both performed and had lots of fun. Thanks to Trustee Barnes for organizing this amazing day. On June 11th, we celebrated the dedicated careers of our retiring class of 2019. This year's retirement dinner congratulated and paid tribute to over 130 retiring staff and guests for their contribution to public education and the growing of young minds at the DDSB. It was our pleasure to honor them. I want to take this opportunity to extend well wishes to a couple fantastic members of our senior team. My Associate Director of Education, Mark Fisher, is leaving us to become the Director of Education at Thames Valley District School Board. It has been an amazing experience working with you, Mark, and I know you will accomplish great things at Thames Valley. I'm also congratulating Superintendent Anne-Marie Leginsky on her retirement. She is moving on to another path after a dedicated career of putting the success of our DDSB students first. You have been a great leader, friend, and colleague. Thank you so much. I wish you both all the best. At the May Director's Coffee Break, the DDSB Education Center all came together to talk about how we can continue to make a difference for the community. We shared data about hate crimes and groups that are impacted. We looked at data connected to the 4 groups most affected by hate crimes: our Jewish community with anti-Semitism, our Muslim community impacted by Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, and hate crimes against the LGBTQ community. Our staff at the DDSB is simply incredible, and we spent time working on strategies, plans, and ideas against hate crime. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because we're going to launch a huge campaign against hate crime in the fall when we return to school. In order to support our commitment to inclusion, I would like to show a video in honor of Pride Month. We asked the simple question, what upcoming events over the summer. It will be very busy at the DDSB with our many summer learning programs for our students and our staff coming forward. At this time, I'd like to wish everyone a great summer. The school is quickly coming to an end. We had a fantastic year, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing everyone again in September. So I hope you take this time, this much-deserved time, to relax, enjoy your family and friends, and have a memorable summer. Thank you, trustees. This is my report.
Thank you, Director Miller, and again, thank you for another very, very powerful message through the medium of video. It was very touching and very appropriate. Next, trustees are going to move on to recommended actions, a report from the Standing Committee of June the 3rd.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Barrett, you will find my report on pages 29 to 32, but on page 10 of the in-camera session, I draw your attention to a motion put forward by Patrice Barnes, and I'll give that motion back to you.
Motion reads, trustees, that the adjustment of the annual trustee expense reporting period be adjusted to December 1st to November 30th, that it be approved. We had Trustee Barnes put forward this motion. I'm looking for a seconder for this motion. Trustee Nikki Lundquist. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now we do need a motion to approve the report from the Standing Committee minutes of June the 3rd. Trustee Forbes, Trustee Barnes, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move to Trustee Donna Edwards and report of the SEAC meeting of April 25th.
Yes, Chair Barrett, my report can be found on pages 33 to 45, and that is my report. Motion to accept the report. Thank you.
Trustee Edwards, do I have a seconder for the motion? Trustee Thatcher. Any questions to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's approved. Next, we're going to move to a very exciting event. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Jamila Malia on the official naming of the unnamed Oshawa Public School, which will no longer not be the official unnamed public school of Oshawa.
Thank you, and good evening. Through you, Chair Barrett. The report can be found on pages 46 through 48 of your agenda. The purpose of this report is to seek approval from the Board of Trustees for the official naming of the unnamed Oshawa Public School scheduled to open September 2019. An ad hoc naming committee composed of members of the school community, Chair Barrett, Trustee Noble, Trustee Forbes, and Trustee Barnes met on Monday, May 27th at 4 p.m. to review the 59 names submitted. 53 names met the criteria according to the school naming regulation number 7551. After the committee reviewed the names, a dotmocracy exercise was utilized to come to a consensus on a final name. The recommendation of the committee is that, drum roll, Elsie McGill Public School become the official name of the new unnamed Oshawa Public School. Elizabeth Muriel Gregory Elsie McGill was known as the Queen of the Hurricanes and was likely the world's first woman to earn an aeronautical engineering degree. She worked as an aeronautical engineer during the Second World War and did much to make Canada a powerhouse of aircraft construction during her years at Canadian Car and Foundry in Fort William, Ontario. In March of 2019, her legacy was honored by having her image on a Canadian stamp. She was recently a contender to be the image on the $10 bill, and a children's book is already in the works. The DDSB received approval from Rohan Soulsby, grandson of Elsie McGill, to name the school Elsie McGill Public School. It is recommended that the Durham District School Board approve the name Elsie McGill Public School as the official name of the unnamed Oshawa Public School in Oshawa, Ontario.
Thank you very, very much for that. And indeed, it is an exciting time when we get the opportunity to be able to name a school, because that also says that we are opening a new school, which is great news. I am looking for one of the two Oshawa trustees to be able to move, Trustee Ashley Noble, and the other Oshawa trustee to second the motion that it is recommended the Durham District School Board approve the name Elsie McGill Public School as the official name of the unnamed Oshawa Public School in Oshawa, Ontario. Are there any questions or comments made with regards to the motion that's on the floor? Trustee Nikki Lundquist.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment, though. I feel compelled to comment on it because of my feminist heart, appreciating that women are grossly underrepresented in public life and in the naming of institutions, so I'm pleased to see that as a choice. But also, because I'm from Thunder Bay and the good side, Fort William, I'm particularly delighted by this choice, so thank you for recognizing her tremendous contributions to Canada and to women particularly.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? It's approved. Thank you very much and congratulations. I know it's a very tough situation where we decided this some 3 weeks ago and we have to keep quiet. It just proves that secrecy can indeed work. So thank you very much for your hard work in being able to lead this, Jamila, and again to the whole committee as well. So, and the community for being able to continuously recommend some excellent names. It makes the naming conventions very difficult. So next we'll move on to the notice of motion of bylaw number 9. I'll start with Director Lisa Miller.
Thank you. The report can be found on page 49. General Legal Counsel Patrick Cotter will provide you with a brief overview and the recommendations.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the Board of Trustees has 9 bylaws addressing board governance, the conduct of board meetings, and related matters. These bylaws were last reviewed and updated in November of 2015. It is our view that the board's bylaws ought to be updated and also consolidated. As the first step in this process, we're recommending that bylaw number 9 be amended, with the current text entirely deleted and replaced with the proposed text, which can be found at the top of page 50. Reference is also made to the rules bylaw, which provides that notice of intention to introduce this amendment be provided at this meeting and that the matter be then put on the agenda for the next meeting. So there's no action item on this particular issue for tonight. It's really merely recommended that the board accept this report regarding the proposal to amend bylaw number 9. We are recommending action items for tonight, the first being that staff be instructed to report to the board at the next meeting on a proposed consolidated and updated governance bylaw to replace all existing bylaws with a single comprehensive governance bylaw. And secondly, that the board establish a joint staff trustee working group to review the proposed consolidated bylaw and prepare a draft bylaw for the board's consideration. Subject to any questions you may have, that is our report.
Thank you very much. Trustee Crawford.
Just on the current text, we changed the wording of this bylaw last year. I don't know whether it's going to make any difference because this is simply a notice, but the current text should read Brock, Uxbridge, Skugog, as opposed to the wording that's here.
I think I did notice that as well, that there was an amendment to the bylaw. If I'm not mistaken, I would concur with Trustee Crawford. We should just make sure that we have the most up-to-date version. I could stand corrected on this, but I do recall this as well when we're reviewing the documents, that there was a change when we made a change at the last, just prior to the last election, I believe is when we changed that, Trustee Crawford. So from just...
Very well. We'll make sure you have the correct version for the next meeting.
It does not change the intent of your change, but just to be able to make sure that everything is correct. Now, I know that you have a series of recommendations here. Usually, when we bring forward a notice of motion, we don't debate it or have motions to be able to accept. We just acknowledge it and then move to the next. I notice that you have here a couple of recommendations that would require us to be able to go forward with this. I might suggest that the accept the report regarding proposed amendment is not necessary, based upon our history of what we do is just have a motion come forward. You do, however, have two recommendations. Your staff would be instructed to report, which I think is also part of the inherent nature of bringing forward a notice motion. However, 4C is different in the sense that you're asking for the establishment of a staff trustee joint working group. So I might suggest in process that 4A and B are not necessary because it is coming back forward as a notice of motion. But however, 4C is something that can be actually brought forward and moved and seconded and passed if it so meets the desire of the Board of Trustees. Trustee Crawford.
Well, I was going to ask a question about which bylaws is it that we feel we should be changing. They're not listed here, so we don't know how many might be. Plus, we have a regular process of checking our bylaws. So unless you have noticed there's something within the wording of those particular bylaws that should be changed, we'd have to know which bylaws they are. And are you recommending, Chair, that item C, that's what this committee would do?
Correct. That's right. That's why I was going to
clarify this.
Yeah, that's why I was going to, and don't take this the wrong way, that's why I was going to allow this one. But 4A and 4B, it's a process. It'll come forward, so it will be put on the agenda for the board agenda for September. And then we will potentially go forward with the moving of 4C, if the will of the trustees. Trustee Brainy?
Thanks, Chair Barrett. I think based on what we've been talking about, that you'd probably at this time like to have somebody move a motion that the board establish a joint staff trustee working group to review the proposed consolidation bylaw and prepare a draft bylaw for the board's consideration. I'd be happy to do that at this time.
Thank you, Trustee Brainy. So we have a movement of 4C. The board established a joint staff working group to review the proposed consolidated bylaw and prepare a draft bylaw for the board's consideration. I'm looking for a seconder for that motion. Trustee Forbes. Any further conversation to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. And the rest will come forward as a notice of motion to the next board meeting in September. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will move on to the information items and Superintendent Georgette Davis on the Incident Ad Hoc Committee final report. And I just want to clarify when we talk about final report, this is the final report for this school year. It is not the final report for the committee. So I just want to be able to clarify that. This does not mean that the ad hoc committee is over. It just means this is the end of the year report. And I'll turn it over to you, Superintendent Georgette Davis.
Thank you, Chair Barrett, and through you. The Incident Ad Hoc Committee June report can be found on pages 51 to 66 of tonight's package. The purpose of this report is to update trustees on commitments that were made by the Incident Ad Hoc Committee during the 2018-19 school year. The work that we are doing are connected to our operational goals and priorities, specifically success. We use data and research to develop programs and well-being. We strive continually to provide safe, inclusive, respectful learning environments. Since 2017, the Ad Hoc Committee committed to preparing a response to the presentations of reporting of violent incidents. There were subsequent meetings during the 2018-2019 year to continually address the commitments. These meetings are indicated on page 51 of your report. Although there were initially as many as 17 recommendations, we will highlight a few on pages 55 that focus on 3 themes that we discovered during our work and data collection process. 1, more reporting takes place in junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten. There's decreased reporting after that time, specifically in the junior grades. 2, reports are submitted in the greatest frequency during the first 3 months of school. And 3, the reports have been desegregated so that we can distinguish between reports that have been done once or several times for the same incidents. Our response to these trends and themes are outlined in the recommendation chart in Appendix B, which can be found on pages 60 to 63, and the infographic in Appendix A, which can be found on pages 57 to 59. I would now like to introduce Chris Conley, our Manager of Research and Assessment from our Accountability and Assessment Department. Chris will speak in more detail about the infographic, which is found on pages 57 to 59. And I would like to also introduce Ken McNaughton, our Administrator Officer of Safe Schools. Ken will speak in more detail about the recommendations and next steps, which are found on pages 60 to 63.
Thank you. Looking at the top of the infographic, on the left-hand side in green is a summary of submissions as a monthly average. Here we see that on average each month, 3% of DDSB staff submit an incident report, which is about 1.9 reports. Over the course of a month, on average, 38% of DDSB schools do not have any reports submitted. On the right-hand side in purple is a summary by staff group. And here we can see that EAs and ECEs have the largest proportions of submissions. Looking at the bottom of the infographic, on the left in purple is a summary from September to April. Here we see that 90% of board staff do not submit any incident reports, and 2% of staff submit 5 or more reports. 10% of staff did submit reports, and when a report is submitted, staff are able to identify the type of report, and here we see 9% of reported incidents are of a physical nature and 4% reported verbal incidents. On the right in blue is a summary by grade, and here we see that the majority of the reports are submitted in the primary grades, 55%, followed by junior at 27% and intermediate and senior at 18%. And we look into detail at each grade. The majority of reports that are submitted are the JK, SK, and in the primary grades. I'd like to invite Ken to provide updates on ongoing supports and next steps.
Thank you, Chris. In terms of ongoing proactive supports, we've broken it down here into school practice, staffing, training, and you can also include resources in that training piece. But we have been working hard with school practice over the course of the last 2 years, trying to improve school-based procedures, particularly around transition planning, both small level and large level transitions that might occur with students, behavior safety plans and keeping those up to date, and supporting staff in developing good behavior safety plans for their students, and also transportation planning, because we've noticed a number of incidents actually occur too when students are being transported to and from school. Staffing, as mentioned by Chris, data clearly indicates that the majority of our events occur in the beginning of the school year and in the early years. So we've been working on a flexible model to support schools and buildings around those first 3 months, particularly in the JKK areas, so we can be responsive to the needs of those students and those buildings. We've also provided training and worked on our board support teams, including psych, social work, our autism resource team, and our short-term assistance response team, and our safe schools team to assist schools in those, particularly those early months during school. We've been working on training and training all of our staff, trying to get the majority of our staff trained in BMS training. In fact, we're rolling out mandatory training for administrators this July, all administrators will be taking a BMS course to help support their school teams. Health and safety emergency response training we've been doing with all groups just to make sure that people are up to date on how to deal with a crisis or an emergency event. We've also been rolling out a new document. We made a presentation to board a few months ago on our progressive discipline document, and we've upgraded our staff training and administrators on restorative practice. In fact, I was doing a large group training today with a large group of educators here around restorative practice. And we've been really attuned to working with groups and schools around behavior as a form of communication and trying to get at the why these incidents might occur, what is the need, to be responsive to that need, and using the support teams to support schools in trying to provide appropriate programming for students. In terms of our next steps, a lot of this work and you will notice on the back of the report, we have a lot of things in progress, a lot of things are moving forward. We will continue to work with our joint health and safety teams and the resources provided by the Ministry of Labor to look at workplace violence. We are actually working very steadily and on an ongoing basis with our data and being responsive to those incidents as they happen. But also, Chris has done an exemplary job working with the data dashboard so we can make more sense of the data, and we'll continue to upgrade that as we move forward. We will eventually get the full year data, which will be important to compare to last year's full data, and we hope to have those numbers by September so we can do that comparison and look at emerging trends, consider our multidisciplinary approach to supporting schools, and develop and work on our recommendations. We have also targeted a rollout for some early year supports in September, including training, as well as an update to self-regulation toolkits focused on the early years. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Superintendent Davis to close out our presentation.
Okay, so this concludes our report, and we will be happy to respond to any questions that you may have at this time.
Trustee Thatcher.
Through you, Chair Barrett. I'd just like to say thank you for the work that you've done this year in this particular area. And as you're aware, trustees are very concerned about the reduction to our funding. And particularly, I would mention the priorities funding, which has resulted in reduction, among other things, to our educational assistants. Ken, you did mention, and based on your data, the time when we have, well, there are other times in the year, but specifically September and October, when the rules and routines are being rolled out. I was just wondering if there has been a plan in place. You did mention some plans for this year. Just wondered if you had some specific information about that, just given your data and given the reduction to our priorities funding and reduction in our educational, our EA staff.
Thank you for your question, and through you, we have in our recommendations, we are focusing on, we recognize in the trends that there's themes of the first 3 months of school in terms of the incidents, and in JK and SK. So we've been working closely with inclusive services in terms of training of staff, but also to provide supports for our ECEs and our support staff and our teachers at the beginning of the year so that we can focus on transitions for the students to support them in those first 3 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, they'll be a little quicker next time. Trustee Thatcher, go ahead. Go ahead.
At your last presentation, you did introduce this wonderful tool on progressive discipline, and I was just wondering if you could give us an update on the implementation and the training. Is this currently in our schools and in the hands of our teachers and admin, and has there been training done on this particular tool?
The answer is yes, we did roll it out, and we've had 3 large sessions and trained all administrators on the rollout. And by the request of the number of administrators that wanted books to go back to their buildings, they are rolling it out in their schools. So we have started. We will continue to do that training again next year as we onboard a lot of new administrators, and we hope to continue that momentum. We also have provided schools with anchor posters that hopefully are being utilized and implemented as they roll out, the administrators roll out the training at their schools.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Thatcher. Trustee Nikki Lundquist.
Thank you. So my comments are going to echo Trustee Thatcher's a little bit. So I'm concerned, and I feel the need to express it in a very clear way in this meeting, recognizing how quickly the year is coming to an end. So here's why I'm concerned. I appreciate that you're saying, you know, for JKSK, we recognize the percentage of incidents is quite high in those years, but then if we just focus on that, we have an issue because grade 1 to 3, it's another 27%, and then you add grade 4, and that's 12%, so we're at like 39% between grades 1 and 4. So a strategy that focuses only on JKSK, I think, is doomed to fail because there are so many kids that have passed that point, and I'm worried about that. So when I say the next thing, I don't want you to think it's a comment on anything you're doing. I think you're doing remarkable work in a very challenging environment. But I am concerned that the reduction in EAs is going to have a profound impact in our classrooms, and it's going to have a profound impact on education workers, not just EAs, but teachers, and on students, both those who are trying to communicate and those who are experiencing that communication. So I feel like we have the potential to lose the ball here. If we don't actually facilitate appropriate communication, we can expect an increase in those challenging behaviors and in violence in our classrooms, and that isn't something that is going to be beneficial to our students or our workers or the board in general. So my comment is really, I'm worried. I'm worried that what we're going to see is an increase in violent incidents next year that is going to be directly proportionate to the EA cuts that we see and the lack of appropriate interventions. So this week, I know that I received an email, as did others, expressing grave concern about that, and I feel compelled to echo that today so that the board hears very clearly that that is something that we are all worried about. And I appreciate the infographic. I appreciate all of the work that's going into this. I recognize the challenge of this. This is a multi-partner concern, right? It's not just us, it's parents, it's students, it's all kinds of other workers engaged in care and planning for children, but I feel really worried, and I think it's irresponsible to not mention how worried I am at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lundquist. And I know that many of us around this board table would share that same concern, because in conjunction to what you're saying, the excellent work that's been going here, the initiatives, it's almost like you're having the rug pulled out from you because the funding isn't going to be there for those very things that we needed in order to be able to address those very distinct issues that we've had. So absolutely. And I think, Trustee Thatcher, that's exactly what you're talking about as well. Trustee Crawford.
Well, just on the funding, it's my understanding it hasn't been pulled yet. We're still waiting to see if that's going to happen. But whatever we're doing, we have to do it in a safe environment. And I know you're thinking, here goes one story Crawford again, but we're trying to do so much work here, and we're trying to be inclusive. But at the same time, trustees have to be very conscious of the safety factors. And I think that these reports should reflect about if safety is a problem. I mean, it's violence. It's got to be a problem on safety, and we need to know what's happening there. And we're saying to go ahead with this program, but we also need to know the repercussions, because we're the ones that are going to suffer if there's a lawsuit of any kind. So one of the things I'd like to know, and you don't have to bring this forward tonight, but has there been police involvement? Is there any litigation? If there's injuries to the staff, has there been expulsions or suspensions relative to it? And principals, of course, have to report to any parents if there's been any harm to them. So, like sounding like a broken record, safety is priority one, and I hope all of these things are going forward with that in mind. And if you have any comments about the safety aspect, I'd like to hear them.
Okay. I would think that some of the suggestions that are being made can certainly be raised again in the ad hoc committee as we continue to be able to work on honing the data. And again, the data that we started to pull together 2 years ago is not the data that we're pulling together today. So I think your suggestions can certainly be taken to the ad hoc committee, Trustee Crawford, in order to be able to see what other data that we can glean from the information that we're currently collecting. So I would suggest that we defer that to the violence ad hoc committee or the incident ad hoc committee, and then be able to look at what other data that we can collect and what is relevant data to be able to collect, not taking out of the context the occupational health and safety information that is shared between ourselves and our bargaining units as well. So that's what I would suggest.
I'll accept your suggestion, Chair.
Excellent. Any further questions or comments, trustees? This is here for your information, but certainly just in closing the item then about just reaffirming, and certainly the conversation that we have had with the one email that most of us received, the very element that the individual is raising is a very element and the foundational piece that is at risk with the cutting. So just to clarify, Trustee Crawford, it's not a question of whether or not that funding is going to be removed. Priority funding has been removed. So it's the EAs have already been notified, et cetera. So that hasn't changed. It's not an if, it's a certainty. Trustee Crawford, I'm sorry I raised it, but go ahead, Trustee Crawford.
This is probably for Finance Committee, if that's what the case is, and we need to put it back from somewhere else because this is the highest priority.
Okay. Point taken. And that would be taken to the Education Finance Committee. Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you, trustees. We're now going to turn to Director Miller for the annual operating plan, the end of the year update.
Thank you. The report can be found on page 67 in your board agenda, as well as I'd ask you to reference the handout, Appendix A, that contains the year-end update. The annual operating plan for the 2018-2019 school year has provided direction and guidance to senior staff in the system in leading quality implementation of system initiatives and programs. Staff work closely with trustees and received input from stakeholders to develop programs, initiatives, and the operational goals. Administrative Council reviews the goals regularly and uses the annual operating plan to provide a foundation for the development of department goals and strategic execution action plans for each superintendent for the year. The senior staff developed a template of the action items, timelines, and metrics of the initiatives and programs within their portfolio to support the achievement of our Ignite Learning goals outlined in the operational plan. On page 68 of your board report, under the analysis section, you can see that the core priorities and operational goals that we report on. Each superintendent portfolio has contributed to the progress of these goals, and that progress is reflected in your document. The focus of this update is to highlight the development and progress of the current initiatives that we've been working on, and considerable work continues from all the superintendent portfolios throughout the year. Trustees receive information on the implementation of the operational goals as reports and presentations from superintendents and our schools at board and standing committee meetings, as well as in the director's annual report. The operational goals are measured by using both quantitative and qualitative metrics and are dependent on the initiative. The stages of implementation for assessing the current status of the goals is included in the final section of Appendix A. And we also use the PISA Educational International Structure and Report to report back on. Individual metrics for each Ignite Learning priority has been included in the status update section in the report. This year, DDSB trustees and senior staff have been working throughout the spring on the multi-year strategic plan. Meetings were held on March 25th, May 8th, May 23rd, and May 29th as we combine this with our education finance meetings and doing our planning. I would like to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our senior team. These operational goals represent a year's worth of work of system leadership, and I am truly proud of their efforts and the impact their leadership has in our system. I'd also like to thank our trustees who work with the superintendent team, bringing stakeholder and trustee voice to help develop innovative and leading initiatives that are responsive to student needs. This provides an overview and an update of our operational goals. I would be happy, and the senior team, to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Miller, for that overview and for the Ignite Learning update. As you report, are there any questions or comments, trustees? And I would suggest that we really don't take the silence based upon the lack of attention to the summary. I would suggest that in being able to continue to update us as a board of directors, this is as much a summary of the abilities and the successes that we've been able to work towards. And so therefore, it continues to be able to illustrate the actions that we've taken consistently throughout the year. So, trustees, appreciate that. We'll move on now to the official enrollment projections. Associate Director David Visser. And
thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The report can be found in the agenda for tonight. It is an information report. Staff are here to answer questions, and also staff are here to assist with the next report that we typically just move over.
Trustees, any questions with regards to the enrollment projections found on pages 71 to 81? And I think that it goes, so seeing no questions, but just goes, and I know that this is only stating the obvious, Associate Director Visser, the amount of work that goes into this and being able to refine the amount of numbers. So Christine, we thank you for you and for the entire staff that does this, but also the realities of that the enrollment today is similarly with Trustees Thatcher and Lundquist, that the number of EAs and supports for our junior grades are being impacted by budget considerations. So too are the potential of enrollment projections and capacity that are being influenced by the discussions around class size and e-learning that I think that we should make sure that we don't lose sight of as well as we move forward in this board. So, and recognizing that, again, you are the experts, you're on top of it, but it does have significant impact upon our future plans for building. So thank you for the work that's been put into this. And now the quarterly construction and major progress report. Again, Associate David Visser.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will ask Christine Anscoville, our Chief Facilities Officer, to comment on this report. There is a couple of updates that we would like to highlight for trustees.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. We would like to just bring your attention to page 84 of the report. We would just like to make a note that the tender documents are complete for the Beaverton and Thora rebuild, and our authority approvals are nearing completion. However, the project is still awaiting Ministry of Education's final approval to proceed to tender. So we now know at this point that the project completion date has to be rescheduled from September 2020 to September 2021 due to the time frame of those final approvals. And also on page 87, we would just like to bring it to your attention that some of the full air conditioning conversions that are occurring, there will be delays due to labor disputes that are happening with unions and the trades outside of our board. So this has been presented to you for information this evening.
Thank you very much, Christine. Are there any questions or comments, trustees, with regards to the report? Trustee Edwards?
Yes, I also noticed that, I mean, we still have a couple of schools that are waiting for ministry approval to proceed to tender, and I'm just wondering if they are delayed. That's all, of course, that's going to affect those dates as well. And so when is sort of the date that we need to get approval before it starts affecting that date? I kind of figured it already has, but.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Certainly that date is coming dangerously close. If we do not hear by the end of June, it may be too late. So at this point in time, we are saying that we are ready to move forward, but do not have approval. These schools are bigger schools, and it does typically take at least 12 months to build. So I would say we are precariously close to canceling those projects also. And I should say, Mr. Chair, canceling those projects to delay them for 1 year.
Thank you for that clarification. But I know I recognize that there is, I would suggest that the Ministry of Education is approving projects in a systematically chaotic way. Not quite understanding the methodology by which they're approving projects across the province. And certainly, as one of the few growing boards left in the province, critically important for us to be able to have those spaces built. I know that we have a tremendous track record of success of acquiring capital and building schools, but we also see the projections for the Durham board as increasing its enrollment double digits over the next 5 years, which is important. Superintendent Visser?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would be remiss if I didn't say that our Chief Facilities Officer, Christine Nanscaville, Lisa Bianca, our Senior Manager, and Melissa Durwood, our Manager of Capital Projects, Capital Budgets, are relentless in their pursuit of the Ministry of Education to provide them any and all information that they ask. I do not believe from a staff perspective that we can provide or move any faster to their requests. We do provide them information, and it does take them a considerable amount of time to get back to us. So it is disappointing, but I think we also have to focus that, as you said, we have been very successful in the past, and we will continue to move forward with these projects.
Thank you for that clarification. In no way was I even suggesting that staff was not diligent being able to provide answers. I was certainly suggesting the other side, that the decision-making is not as diligent. So, and I can say that and you can't. So, trustees, the correspondence, there's a number of letters there. If there's any desire to be able to pull any of those out, to be able to have discussions, they are there for your information. Seeing no indications, just before we close, since this is the kind of last official meeting and everybody is left, we thank you. I know you're here waiting for your daughter, but we do appreciate that. We were speaking to you all night, so thank you. And again, thank you for the gift of your daughter and for the success that I know she's going to continue to have. If I'm looking for a motion of adjournment, Trustee Noble? We are adjourned. Thank you.